Now here comes Teeter at the finish line, and Teeter has won the 32nd running of the Women's Little 500 for the 69th Little 500. Cutters and Black Key Bulls, and it's a two-peat, a repeat for Cutters. They've done it again.
You're listening to the Little 500 podcast, presented by IU Sports Media. Welcome into the Little 500 podcast. Once again, I'm Jordan Gould, and today I'm joined by a couple of good guys I know pretty well. We got Vib Parimi here, a junior, and we got Garrett Riley, who is his first year with the team. He's a sophomore. Guys, thanks for coming in.
Yeah, thanks for having us. I'm glad to be here.
A lot of the riders we've talked to in the past on this podcast have been around the Little 500 for, I guess you call them veterans if you want. So it's nice to have a different perspective for some newer riders like yourselves. I mean, second year, first year. This is rookie week. How's that going so far? What's it like at the track for you?
It's a lot of fun, especially getting out there with all the rookies and competing against them. You meet a lot of the new guys and see who's a little more experienced and who's not as deep. We've done a lot of scratch races so far this week. It's been a little more race oriented, and then last week it was more like learning the basics, group riding, pacing, jumping on the bike, so stuff like that. Just like progressing slowly, but there's still a lot to learn, especially as a rookie. Yeah,
what's the toughest part? What would you say? With a lot of the new skills you're learning, I mean, jumping on a bike isn't easy. The transitions, in the past, we've had a lot of people say it's one thing to just talk about it, but then to actually do it and learn, I mean, it's a challenge. So what would you say is maybe one of the more challenging parts of rookie week?
I'd probably say just it's especially cold, so getting over the fact that you're going to be cold or wet, because we're going to be out there no matter what. If it's raining, snowing, just freezing cold, we're going to be out there unless it's lightning because we're on metal bikes. But I'd probably say the toughest part is probably when you're first out there, it's getting over the fact of jumping on the bike and not being afraid of crashing. Because if you're thinking about it, you're most likely going to crash. And if you're not thinking about it as much, you're more likely to just get up and go. I think that's the biggest thing with a lot of rookies is they're like scared to squash their boys pretty much. Because especially like learning to jump on the bike, you have to do it a certain way. So that way it's a little more smoother instead of like plopping down on the seat.
Yeah, I definitely think that's an interesting point where, you don't want to worry about crashing. I mean, you can't think like that.
Mm-hmm.
That can't be the mindset. And for you, Vib, rookie week was, you had that experience last year. So what have you been doing over the course, with training right now, with rookie week going on? Obviously, you're not involved with that. What have you been doing to kind of stay involved?
One thing that I'm doing because I'm missing out on rookie week is watching a lot of race tape, because I think one thing that rookie week really allows you to do is learn the basics, such as jumping on a bike, the exchanges, and pack riding especially, because, all the time that you're not on a track, like I haven't been on the track since Little 5 season last year, it's been like around, 9 months now or so. So, I mean, I'm a little rusty. All the training that I'm getting right now has been indoors, which is nice because my fitness is obviously still there and it's constantly increasing, but I don't have exposure to the skills such as like jumping on the bike, getting off the bike, the exchanges, and just the whole feel for the track and riding right behind a rider. So what I've been doing is just maintaining my indoor workouts while also watching race tape, such as the 2019 and 2018 race tape, and also quals and other Spring Series events such as Missing Outs, ITTs, and
Team Pursuits.
Team Pursuits, yeah.
Yeah, you bring up an interesting point. I haven't heard many people talk about watching race tape.
Mm-hmm.
Is that something you do individually, or as a team you guys watch race tape? And how does that affect, or maybe what do you guys take away or learn from watching race tape to benefit you moving forward?
Yeah, I think race tape is really, really important to watch. You can see many things, such as, the strong teams that you really want to follow and, maybe the weaker teams that you might not want to follow, might not want to be behind. It also kind of teaches you a lot about race strategy in terms of knowing when to burn out, just things like that. As a team, we haven't really gotten together to watch that much race tape, but it's something that we've really talked about and that we plan on doing in the future. So we can just kind of formulate our own race strategy watching the previous riders and previous teams.
Back to Garrett here. Why Little 5? Like, what made you want to get involved with that? I know you kind of stepped up to the plate last year, wanted to be a lap counter. How was that experience? And maybe how did you get to this point where you wanted to be a rider and knew you wanted to get involved?
Throughout high school and throughout my life, I've played sports. I've played baseball for 15 years and then basketball for a few, tennis. I probably played any sport you could probably think of. But overall, I'm pretty competitive, especially in my family, where I have a twin brother and a younger brother. So it's always a fight against each other when we're doing stuff like that. But my parents both went here. My twin brother goes here now too. But I just missed competing and getting out, having a team that I could rely on if I ever needed anything. And that's kind of why I got involved last year with our team by being our social media and photographer and doing stuff like that with them, slowly getting into it, and then going to a few of our indoor workouts last year and getting to expose myself that way slowly before transitioning straight into it, seeing if I would like it. Being the lap counter at the race last year was a huge thing for me. I mean, not a lot of people see it as a big thing, but being able to help your team by allowing them to see what lap we're on at that certain point in time, I think helps know what point in the race we're at and what our mindset is going forward. After the race, I was just I want to be a part of this. I want to compete. I want to be out there. I've always rode bikes. I used to do a lot of mountain biking when I was younger, but I just being on the bike just kind of helps me clear my mind from a lot of things, and I think that's one of the biggest reasons I wanted to get out there and just have fun with it.
Vib, I guess same thing for you. How did you first get involved with the race? What was the drive that you're I want to be on a little 500 bike team?
Throughout my life, well, not throughout my life, but in 7th grade is when I kind of started picking up running, and it became pretty much the biggest part of my life up until the senior year of high school. I ran cross country and track every single year from 7th grade to my senior year, and that aspect of racing has always been kind of ingrained in me. I was never really into team sports. I tried out basketball but wasn't that great at it, and I never really had that much of an interest in team sports, so running was something that I really pursued, and racing is really kind of what gave me that competitive feel for sports. When I came into college, I wasn't going to run for IU. I kind of struggled to find, that kind of racing mentality, and I really missed it. I started playing ultimate frisbee my freshman year of college, and that was a fun time, but I kind of missed just racing in general. When I heard about the Little Five, I was pretty interested in it. Cycling's kind of translates to running, but it's a lot more legs intensive. That's kind of how I got into it, just my background in cross country and track.
So Lambda Phi had last ran the race before 2016 in 1955, so it's quite a long break. Yeah. And then back in 2016, they get a team again, Lam does, and they finished 23rd. But every year since then, the team has gone 19th in 2017, 19th in 2018 again, and just last year the team placed in 17th. Right. What do you think has maybe helped led to the growth or improvement over time for Lam's bike team?
I think the alumni and just the program getting stronger every year has been the reason that we've always been trying to, exceed our own expectations that we set every year. So the bar is always constantly being raised. Yeah, just the alumni base and constantly getting more new guys into our program and kind of fixing that our mistakes from the previous year has constantly made us stronger. So this year, we're trying to obviously increase the bar, which is 17th place.
Yeah, like Viv said, alumni play a great role into especially supporting us. This year especially, I think we lost two of our top riders for last year, Brady Hoffman and Adam Kelty. They both graduated. This year we have 4 rookies and 2 veteran riders, Vib and Micah, returning this year. I think we are shooting for that top 15. That's our ultimate goal. We definitely want that this year. It's in our minds, especially going through training. And it's just a matter of pushing ourselves, especially being younger than probably most of the teams probably out there. Yeah. We got to just stay focused and keep training hard and doing the best we can and just pushing ourselves to the best we can be.
Garrett, you brought up a good point. This team is really young with the 4 rookie riders. Is that something you guys see that maybe hurt you guys, or do you guys look at that as a strength, saying, hey, we have a lot of time to grow here? You're listening to the Little 500 podcast, presented by IU Sports Media. Bloomington, Indiana is home to the Little 500, the largest collegiate bike race in the United States. This year, the women's race will be on Friday, April 24th, and the men's race will be on Saturday, April 25th. Both races will take place at Bill Armstrong Stadium and will be broadcasted on Indiana's web streaming portal. Come see why the Little 500 is known as the world's greatest college weekend.
I personally think it gives us a little more time to grow. Obviously, one of our rookies is a senior, so he'll be gone next year. But the three of us will be back next year, so I'm excited to see where that progresses. I think there's a lot of potential in the guys we have, and there's a lot to learn. And it's just a matter of time before that becomes into the plan and to like everything that we've got going. So I'm excited to see where it goes and see what happens this year.
Yeah, and adding on to that, we've also increased our volume and intensity of our workouts from 2018 and 2019 because obviously we want to constantly shoot higher than what we've had before. So now we have 5 workouts on the bike a week, and the 6th day we try to do our own type of cross training, whether it's another sport or we're in the gym lifting, and we have 1 rest day. So last year we only had around three indoor workouts and other fitness, but now we've increased both the intensity and the volume of our workouts just to place higher than we did before.
Yeah, no, I know you talk about those workouts. Of course, they're led by Barry McGee, who's your all's head coach.
Right.
What have you guys both learned from Barry through this process? And maybe, what would you say is some of his biggest strengths as a coach?
Barry, he's been around IU for a while, and he knows what he's talking about. He knows a lot of the other coaches and what's going around in the Little Five community. So he has a lot more insight than what we see. And what I think he brings to us is like his determination for the team to place higher than where we've ever placed before is something I see very valuable because it motivates us to do better because if he believes in us, then we have a certain mindset that we can go further than we've done before, especially even with a young team.
Garrett, you mentioned the word community. I think that's a great word to kind of describe the Little 500. And I know you're involved not only with the Little 500 this year, but you're also involved with IUDM and all sorts of organizations on campus, very close-knit family groups. I mean, is there something about that? Like, what do you love about these community aspects of clubs, IUDM? Like, what makes you kind of want to join those?
Coming into IU, I really wasn't sure what I wanted. But as I got into IUDM, PyLam as well, and Little Five, you really start to see a community that comes together for a certain cause and just bonds over those things, especially like IUDM. I've never met more people passionate about such a big cause, especially fundraising for something that doesn't get a lot federally. And I think that's a huge deal. But with Little Five, I love just meeting the people out there. Everybody's nice to each other. Nobody's really like, wow, you suck or anything like that. No one's going to dish you down. They're just always going to support you no matter what. And I think that's the biggest thing with these communities is that everybody's supportive. And you don't find anything like that anywhere else.
Little Five is a big thing, and we're all competitive, but at the end of the day, it's only one day that we're racing. The other 364 days, we're all friends, and we're all training together and supporting each other and constantly pushing Little Five to be something that more riders can get into. Rookie week especially is something that, Riders Council is constantly just trying to get more new riders into the sport and the event to teach them the basics, even though we're all riding for different teams, it's a whole one big community. And it only really gets competitive on the actual day.
I like what you said. I mean, it is a one day out of 365 days a year. Mm-hmm. The other 364 days of the year, you're training, you're working to build towards that moment. So what kind of maybe motivates you personally or maybe as a team for each of you to kind of, stay focused, stay driven, and, motivated for this race?
Going back to race tape, I don't watch too much race tape, but whenever I have those moments of, I'm just not motivated, the race is like 8 months away. I just don't care about it right now. I just watched the race tape and I'm like, wow, this is a real thing. Like I have to be focused, and just watching race tape and the energy in the crowd of like 50,000 people just in the stands, just watching. It's kind of something that drives you even when the race is 8 months away.
Definitely everybody in the stands cheering you on, I think is a big one. But, I think the fact that is like normally like when you look at a lot of the IU athletics, they have games weekly. We don't have games weekly. We have one race April 25th, and that's it. And then it's not for another year that we get to do this again. So I think the biggest thing is just realizing that day is so important to us that we want to train our hardest, keep pushing ourselves to be the best we can be so that when that day comes, we can do the best we can without feeling any regret at all.
There's been a steady improvement for Lambda Phi, the cycling team, and the standings. Part of that might be recruitment or training or just over time more experience being in the race. So what are your all's goals this year? I know you mentioned a top 15 finish would be nice. Realistically, what personally or as a team, what are you guys looking to accomplish this year?
As a rookie, me being especially a rookie and the other three, I just expect us to to me, honestly, the finish is great, but pushing us to be better people as we go along and just pushing each other to be the best we can be is really my biggest goal for everybody, especially being named captain as a rookie. It kind of sets the tone a little higher for me, especially. And I think that just being there for those guys when they need it, and no matter whether it's for Little Five or anything in their lives, that we're there for each other. I think that's the biggest thing that we can work on as a team.
Yeah, so obviously we want to do better than last year. We finished 17th. I think we finished with 197 or 198 laps this
197.
year. Yeah, 197. Okay, so this year we really want to be there until the end and finish all 200 laps. That's a big goal. But just adding on to what Garrett's saying is, just working our hardest and at the end of the race just feeling like we had no regrets. Just having that feeling of pushing ourselves and leaving it all on the track. And I don't want to feel like I could have done something different and could have trained harder, could have done this, could have done that. Just pushing ourselves and putting it all out there on the track at the end of the day is something that, is my personal goal for Little Five this year.
Yeah. What's it going to take to obviously teams like Cutters, teams like Phi-Sci, who are, right, you'd consider the top tier, the one of some of the better bike teams, at least in the men's side of the field. Do you think that it takes time to build up to get to maybe as a recognition for a team? How do you get to that level?
The biggest thing that the strong teams like Phi-Sci, Cutters, and all the top teams that train a lot, the biggest thing that they do in races is they always find the perfect timing in the races to just suddenly just go really fast, just to get away from the lower tier teams. And one thing that we've really been trying in our practices is those sprints and just being aware of the track. So when those strong teams are making moves, we want to be right there with them so they don't kind of get away from us.
I totally agree. Like he said, being like Cutters and Phi-Sci is following their moves, especially during the race, because during the race you're going to have a certain tempo that everybody is going. But there's going to be those top teams that are going to make moves to speed up the pack, and you got to be willing to go with them if we want to stay in that lead pack and up with the main group, especially to finish in that last lap.
Yep. Well, 17th place last year, looking to build on that, and a lot of great things going on. Guys, thanks for joining me today, and really appreciate hearing what you guys had to say.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us. This was great.
Yeah, I love it. Well, if you loved it so much, we got more episodes along the way, so keep listening, and that goes for everyone out there listening for this one. Tons of more episodes throughout the racing season. Once again, Lambda Phi, Vib Parimi, and Garrett Riley, thanks for coming in. And I'm Jordan Gould. We'll be back pretty soon for some more episodes. This concludes this episode of the Little 500 podcast, presented by IU Sports Media. Be sure to follow at IU Sports Media on Twitter and subscribe to the IU Sports Media YouTube page to follow along all Little 500 coverage from our student media. Thanks for listening.